The Libyan Coast Guard says it has turned back a boat packed with nearly 500 migrants bound for Europe, just as they were about to be rescued at sea. The migrants, mainly from sub-Saharan Africa, Syria, Bangladesh and Morocco, were returned to the Libyan capital Tripoli, where they are being held at a detention center. Libya accuses a German rescue boat run by the Sea Watch organization of trying to disrupt its operation. But the captain says the EU-funded Libyan patrol boat had almost crashed into its vessel.
We set off, we found a wooden boat, we left the side of our boat, taking life vests to the refugee boat. As we approached, we realized it was massively overcrowded, hundreds and hundreds of people on this boat. And then our interpreter just started to talk to them and find out some more details when we had an alarm call from the Sea Watch 2 that said we're being approached by a Libyan warship. And when we looked over our shoulders, there was a fast boat had just come round the bows of Sea Watch and was heading towards us at high speed. But to return to Libya with talk of detention camps, armed robbery, it's not a safe country for anybody. So for the Libyan authorities to take them back there, is that a safe port? Is that a rescue from distress? I don't think so.
South African President Jacob Zuma has appealed against the High Court ruling ordering him to give reasons for his controversial decision to sack widely respected Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. The president's lawyers argue that the court overstepped its authority and the principle of the separation of powers by ordering him to release all documents linked to the minister's sacking. The opposition Democratic Alliance brought the court action after widespread condemnation of Mr. Gordhan's dismissal. The move triggered a downgrade of South Africa's economy to junk status by two global rating agencies. Congo's main opposition group, the UNDP, has called President Joseph Kabila's newly appointed government illegitimate, saying it disrespects efforts to ease the risk of violence in the country following the president's plan to stay on after his mandate expired. Meanwhile, the new government faces a number of stern tests. The DRC's franc currency has lost half its value since last year, and authorities are struggling to mobilize the resources needed to hold the election by the end of the year.
Democratic Republic of Congo's main opposition party denounced President Joseph Kabila's newly appointed government under Prime Minister Bruno Shibala, which they say undermines a previous agreement. Kabila, in power since 2001, struck a deal in December with Congo's main opposition bloc to stay on after his mandate expired, provided he held elections by the end of 2017. But talks to implement the deal broke down in March when Kabila refused to commit to the bloc's choice of prime minister. This is the second nomination of a prime minister. The opposition also rejected the appointment of Congo's opposition figure, Sami Badimbanga, who was named in November last year under a power-sharing deal. The opposition called the nomination a provocation at the time. In the capital, Kinshasa, many residents say they are skeptical that the new government will change the current political landscape.
S'investit totalement pour la réussite.
This so-called government is a bad idea. As you know, Kabila does not want to leave power. All these are tactics that are going on around the announcement of Shibala's government or a Badibanga government. All these are distractions that they are using to stay in power. There is nothing new.
Despite resistance to Kabila remaining in power, he has successfully co-opted large portions of the opposition. The new Prime Minister, Shibala, named last month, is a former member of the country's largest opposition party, and other opposition leaders received ministerial posts too. The ruling majority spokesperson, Alain Atundu Liyongo, dismissed the critics, saying that the new government is ready to work with the opposition.
The ruling majority is invested in the success of this government. especially regarding two major objectives. We need to finish with the process of organizing elections as agreed. We also need to ensure that the Congolese people live in the best social conditions, as well as security for their own well-being. We also need to pursue at national level policies that will improve the country's economy.
The roughly 60 ministers and vice ministers that were named are mainly holdovers from the previous government, and key ministries, including Foreign Affairs, Interior, Justice and Mines, they remain in the hands of Kabila loyalists. Political tension is high after security forces killed dozens during protest over election delays last year. Worsening militia violence in recent months has also raised fears of a backslide towards the civil wars of the turn of the century that killed millions. Kabila's opponents suspect he intends to repeatedly delay elections until he can organize a referendum to let himself stand for a third term, as his counterparts in neighboring Congo Republic and Rwanda have done. Kabila denies those accusations, saying the election delays are due to challenges registering millions of voters and budgetary constraints.